Hey everyone, welcome to today's video and welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that is very critical to the Division 2. Now, this is actually going to tie into my series that I've been doing on doing a retrospective of the Division 1 and looking at its merits and some of its demerits in comparison with the Division 2. Now, one of the really cool things is I was actually planning, a different segment of this retrospective until today's state of the game. And I saw a wonderful opportunity to point out something that I've been asking and calling out for the community to rally around, but it seemed like it fell on a lot of deaf ears. And today's state of the game is pretty much defined by 4 minutes within the entire state of the game video. So what I'll do is I'll put a link of the state of the game video here on YouTube and I'll timestamp what you need to watch so that way you can hear it directly from the developers themselves. So lately, in all my, case building regarding how the Division 1 had a lot of valuable aspects that can be imported into the Division 2, I have seen some opposition. I mean, I've been seeing this opposition for a long time before this series started, and it's, valid. A lot of people are saying, if you want the things in Division 1, why not go play the Division 1? Why do you want them to come to the Division 2? And that is a valid concern because not everything in the Division 1 is as solid as it seems to be. There are some things in Division 1 that needs to just stay there and not make its way to the Division 2. But nonetheless, they are very critical things from the Division 1 that I feel like will enjoy, or the players will enjoy, if it were to find itself in the Division 2. And this is one of them. It's exactly what I've been talking about a long time, and it's the fact that you can actually get max rolls on all items in your brand set or your gear. Now, in the state of the game, they did not show weapons, because they were waiting to see if Frederick Thailander was willing to come and speak about, weapons by himself. And so what they did today in today's state of the game was they actually talked about gear. And this is very exciting. So before we even look at it from, the perspective of the state of the game, let's go back to the Division 1 so that we can eventually loop our way back to Division 2. And you will see how important my case is that the Division 1 holds the secret to what's going to make the Division 2 a great game. And if possible, if the developers continue on this pattern, a better game over time. So in the Division 1, by the end of life of the game, the developers decided that they were going to add an optimization station. This was a station where you could take your gear as it had been rolled and dropped down from wherever it came from and use all kinds of fun resources to max out all the stats on it. Every single stat could be maxed out on this particular piece of gear. Everything from armor to its major attributes and to its minor attributes, including the other attributes that you had in terms of firearms, stamina, and electronics. So you could max out everything by just using these resources to continue to up every single stat by a factor of maybe 1 or however much the RNG wanted for you to do that. Now, that got you to a point where if you had enough of these resources, especially Shade Tech was the big currency there, you were able to get a max rolled item. And now a lot of players have been asking for that in the Division 2, including myself. And it seemed like the developers were not going to do it. And some people even argued and said it's not possible in the Division 2. And I looked and said, I don't understand that it's not possible. So I kind of said, okay, you know what? Let me just back away a little bit on this argument, because it seems like I was beating a dead horse. Until today in State of the Game, the developers showed these two pictures. Now, I have to caveat these pictures because the developers specifically said the following things. They said, this picture and all you're seeing here is subject to change. They said disregard the values and the stats. So the numbers that you're seeing are pretty much placeholders. They can change. But then one of the really cool things that I can correlate with this picture is this particular or these particular gear items have a core attribute and attribute slots. So it has one core attribute and 2 attributes. And this is shown on a backpack, and I think it was shown on a chest piece. So if you look at the way that they're actually organized, you cannot help but see the similarity in the Division 1 where your gear had major and minor attributes. Now, I think the way they're doing it in the Division 2 is it's most likely going to be uniform across the board unless they want other pieces to have different numbers of core and regular attributes. But what you're seeing here is they're taking this same ideology and concept from the Division 1 and they're teasing something of that nature to come in the future of the Division 2. Now, this isn't even going to come in episode 3 because this is going to literally change a lot of the game, because according to the developers, and I'm going to cite them, I took notes. They said the UI, and I think it was Hamish that said this specifically. He said, and I quote, "The UI is reflecting game design changes that," and they talked about these game design changes coming in the future. And then the other guy, I can't remember his name. I've known his name for a long time. I can't remember off the top of my head. He said, and I quote, "Hidden behind this is all kinds of RPG, the way stats work and all that." And then they also alluded to the fact that they were going to be speaking about this in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this video, or if you've seen today's state of the game and you do not understand the implications of this, then you probably did not play the Division 1. But if you're a Division 1 player and you put enough time and investment in there, then you understand that they are literally taking a slice out of one of the best aspects of the Division 1 when it comes to gear and when it comes to loot, and they're just literally going to stamp this thing on the Division 2. In fact, Hamish also went ahead and asked and said, is it possible that these attributes that are not yet max rolled, is it possible for them to all on one piece be all max rolled? And the answer to that was the affirmative yes. So there is a possibility that you can get a fully max rolled item in this game. Now, this does not mean that an optimization station is coming. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion because nowhere in this state of the game did they say it. I can assume, but they never said it that way. Now, there are two possibilities that can get you this kind of max roll possibility for all your attributes, be it your core attribute or be it your regular attribute. That could be either by recalibration, where they allow for you to be able to recalibrate two different stats in terms of, say, okay, you can only do one attribute, one talent, or two attributes, so you actually have to choose and pick. That is one way that we can say, okay, it's a better way to actually roll gear. Or they can bring a recalibration station where you can now take that item and max out stuff. And to be very honest, because of the first possibility, I don't think a recalibration station will be a healthy choice for now. So if you bring the first option where a player can recalibrate two different stats, be they two attributes or one attribute and one talent, then you have now increased the possibility of players to be able to maximize their gear in a better way. And this is, you're talking about gear efficiency going up by a huge percentage. This is now 100% max roll. This, I think that 100% max roll initiative needs to come later down the road if we have something like this in place. But if we don't have something like this in place where the recalibration can allow for you to recalibrate more than one stat, then the optimization station is definitely where it needs to go. And I'm guessing that even though Frederick Thailander was not even here today, the weapon systems are probably going to follow this same pattern. And that is exactly what we've been talking about. That's exactly what I've been talking about in saying that there are aspects of the Division 1 that definitely need to be brought to the Division 2. And as many people may have doubted that this is the case, you have to, for yourself, see that the developers are even following this pattern, because I think they believe in that strategy. I think they believe that that is actually the right thing to do. And then we can also play it from a player perspective. So let's look at it this way. The Division 1 was done. Division 2 came out. A lot of people played the Division 2, and most of them had never played the Division 1. Most of them played the Division 1 and moved on to 2. Now, a lot of players have, thrown their arms up in the air and have left the game, be they players who showed up on the Division 2 for the first time or who came from the Division 1. And now that a lot of people have thrown their hands up in the air, who do you think is left to play the Division 2 right now? Because it's either the players who are just enjoying the Division 2 because it's the first game that they've played, or players who came from the Division 1 because they wanted to continue this division journey that are still left here. And the developers have to appeal to another market out there. And it's going to be very difficult for them to go bring in a whole base of brand new players. So what are they doing? They are trying to call back the old community. That is where the players are for this game. Anybody who's played this game long enough knows that. And the old community is actually happy to come back if some of these things are actually in place. It's not like the old, yes, some of the old community has gotten upset and said, forget this, I don't want to deal with this. And nobody can blame them, because we're 6 months in and we're seeing some of the best aspects of this game being worked on. And so if that old community who's already deleted the game and said, I need space on my computer, I need space on my Xbox or my PS4, if they start to see these things being implemented, I believe that they're going to start showing up back in the game and checking it out over time. Don't worry. A lot of people might say this game is already dead, but one thing I know about the Division community is the Division community usually goes into hibernation. I don't know anything about Division community dying since I've been playing the game for over 3 years or more than 3 years. Yeah. For over 3 years, I think now. I've never heard of anything about like this community going like extinct. It's usually a lot of people going into hibernation, taking a break and all of that. And I think the developers understand that. And the way that they can wake up that hibernating community is by bringing the things that are very interesting. So this is just one aspect that I've been pouring out all these videos about, talking about how skills from the Division 1, many of them do provide a fun gameplay for the Division itself, and they probably need to see themselves show up in the Division 2. Now, that's too much to throw on the plate right now. I need to be very happy with what we're seeing, but I think the developers are on a pattern and are on a trend to bring this game and literally infuse a lot of life into this game. But still, I have to caveat at the end of this video with one thing. I wonder if and I just want to say it, I wonder if they're developing another game that they want the Division community to be a part of. Now, I'm not saying it's a Division 3 game. It could be a Division 3 game, or it could be, to their strength, the Avatar game that's coming out being some kind of an RPG looter shooter, because that is one of their biggest strengths. It is. They have the knowledge, they have the data. But I think if they want to play to their strengths, then they have to be very cautious as to how they do things for that so-called new game. I'm hoping it's not a Division 3 game. I don't think we need one. This Division 2 framework right now, I think, can carry a whole bunch of different cities that can be sold as expansions, and this game can run a course, for years to come. Except maybe technology changes, they want to upgrade something new. Maybe you just give it like another 3 or 4 years, and then a new community might be ready for the Division 3, if that's the case. But for now, this core community can use new maps over time, not saying that they need to come tomorrow. And then if there's a new game that they're bringing out that's an RPG looter shooter that goes along this same lines, this community can also engage in that and also patronize them. Trust me, a lot of us love the Division. We enjoy the game. And so I think there's nothing that's going to be stopping us from playing a very polished version of this game or another title that has a lot of the aspects of this particular game. So that's what I wanted to just share with you guys today. I do appreciate your time and audience. Thank you for even, listening and hanging in till the end. I appreciate you guys so much. If you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? A lot of things are going to be coming forward in this game. I feel like the developers are still dedicated. It might be their burn rates was probably too much to release this game and bring it to market, and so they're probably back at work. Their silence that they maintained was not necessarily good for them, because a lot of people have criticized me and said, hey, I feel like their communication is actually better than many other companies, and that's the truth. I've commended it, but once they started trying to dial it back a little bit is where many of us who were used to that more open pipeline of communication started to call that out. But I'll get out of your hair for now. I'll see you in another video. Thank you once again. Peace.